Alright, I got another quick one for you here. Stuff like this, I told you I took the alternator loose just to make some more room to the radiator, when what I really should have done is just taking the radiator out, which is what we did do. But anyway, so the alternator is still not bolted on, but this has a threaded ear in the housing. Of course, it's a steel bolt that they put in there from the factory. These just absolutely love to strip out. I've done that twice on these cars and ended up with a nut on the backside. Just not much fun. So while this is apart, we didn't actually take it all the way off the car, but it's loose and it swings and all that. I've got some anti-seize on this bolt, and we are going to use the bolt to just clean up the threads. If you have a tool like this, it just makes things go a lot faster. You can use a drill, you can, you use a ratchet too, it just takes longer. But I'm just going to run it in and out a few times. We are not going to use this to tighten anything. That's just way too much. I definitely like to use a ratchet or a wrench for that. But yeah, just, oops, wrong way. Yep. And we're just looking to do that a bunch of times. So just a little tip there. It's kind of use it like a tap. It'll help clean it out. We'll get a bunch of anti-seize in there, so hopefully it won't cause any more trouble. And then as long as we're careful putting it back together, we shouldn't strip those threads out or hurt anything. We'll just, take it easy. I said we don't want to use this guy for me, for hardly any reassembly work. This stuff's great to blast stuff apart quick, but I'm not a big fan of throwing it back together that way. If you are, or if you want to, for sure, at least finger start your stuff first. And just be mindful that these are growing more and more powerful every day. This one, I think I've run lug nuts up to like 40 foot-pounds with it, which is a lot on a fastener that size. It does have a power thing you can turn down, but it also makes it run slower. So I just leave it on high and just, use it responsibly, I guess. And just quick thing for you. All right, guys, we put the thong song on and tore this place apart. We got pretty much this whole side of the motor dialed back in. Of slight concern, I think Ford, it's been a while, the other Ford not yet named over here does this too. Puts on these funky power steering lines that swivel. When they're tight even, they still swivel. And this one's swiveling, and it also looks like it has a small power steering leak, so I'm hoping we didn't break this line or something when what we're doing. I don't think so, but we'll find out. Or if it needs power steering line, well, I guess we'll be putting one on, but hopefully we don't have to do that today or, tomorrow. Made sure to go ahead and get my other clamp on back there. But I'll tell you what, some of you guys need a cup of coffee because you're falling asleep at the switch. I was about to talk a little bit about this coil bracket here, and you guys almost let me put it back on without putting this hose back on, and that would have been bad. So we all need to perk up a little bit, I think. But what I really wanted to talk to you about, the whole reason I stopped to show you any of this, has of course been misplaced. We'll be right back. Not misplaced, just that no coffee thing kicking in again. So anyhow, this guy is just a coil bracket, and good God, isn't it elaborate just to hold that thing. And it goes on right here, right? It's goes on right here, and it's really not a big deal. And I haven't really talked about this a lot, but what this car really is what I call a Mazda Ford. A lot of you guys probably already know that, some of you may not. That Mazda and Ford had a joint venture that was pretty strong in the 90s. I think to some extent it's still going on today, where what you've got here, what this car actually is a, I think Mazda 326, 323, 323, with a Ford motor stuffed in it. So it's Ford drivetrain on a Mazda chassis. As such, just about all of the worst things about the car are the Ford parts, which is unfortunate. That's the way it goes. Again, if Mazda had built a economy version of this, who knows what you would have got. Mazda did build a performance version of this, which is the Escort GT. That was Mazda powered. But anyway, the reason I stopped and the reason I want to show you all this and why I want to talk about it is every once in a great while, this thing reminds me and the world that it's got that Ford badge on the front of it. So on this thing, we've got 6 bolts in it. There are 2 bolts that hold it on. So, those should all be the same size bolt, right? Like, how many different sizes would you expect to need to do that job? Oh, 3. Those are 3 different bolt sizes. And I really hope that Ford has moved on from this kind of thing by now. I don't own any modern vehicles. You'll come to discover that as well. But who thought of this? Why did they think of it? This is just stupid. I mean, if for some reason you're limited on this major diameter, they buy specialty fasteners by the truckload anyway. Buy them with the same size heads. Anyway, just a little frustrating thing that hopefully you do not see if you have a modern car. This kind of stuff used to be super common back in the day. You see it constantly. What was even worse is before the American OEM switched to all metric standardization. This is an entire car that is metric. I think this is the first motor in Escorts that was metric, the prior motor. So the boxy Escorts, I think, had an English fastener motor in them still. So right about this time, GM had switched most everything over to when they went to the Gen 3 small block, so when they went to the LS motors and murdered the 350, I think that was in '98. That was the end of standard fasteners on GMs, I think. So we dealt with that mismatch and nonsense until the late '90s, and completely unacceptable. I don't much care either way. Metric system's fine with me, but, you know, pick one or the other, and let's, you know, not do dumb things like this. You know, anyway, we'll get back at it. See ya. All right, we're back at it here. A couple of interesting things to show you, a couple of funny things to show you too, I think, is I told you before that I had to yank a spark plug to put that piston stop in, and I've got it over here. I'll explain that in a second. But so you yank a plug on a 25-year-old car that has 70,000 miles, you are probably doing it for the first time. So yeah, we're going to be replacing all the plugs. And I saw this when I tore the car down off video before I decided to just put it on YouTube and see what happens. These are the OE spark plugs, you know, the ones that are super dark. These are supposed to be gapped like 52 thousandths. 2 of them are over 100 thousandths. And I put them right next to a Bosch Platinum. Just old school, like regular standard platinum, not +4, none of that stuff, just because I have good luck with them. A lot of people say to put auto lights in Fords. The Ford next door has auto lights in it, they're fine. I just have good luck with platinums and daily drivers. They just are good to me, so that's what I use. But anyway, so I checked the gap on the platinums. They're supposed to come out of the box at 50. 2 of them were. One of them was at like 35 and another one was at like 40. So it's always a good thing to check your plug gap. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the difference between double what it's supposed to be and what it's supposed to be. You see that fine little tip that it's got there? That's 50 thousandths or 52, somewhere in there. And then, you know, 100. You can really see on this one the electrode is just, or I guess that'd be the ground strap, is just completely eaten up. It's about half the thickness of the rest of the plug. Same story over here and over here. And something else you may or may not be able to tell very well is 2 of these plugs look kind of wet, or they did a minute ago anyway. I think it's these 2, because this is number 3. And I mentioned before, this car has an aluminum cylinder head. As soon as I started turning this, it started sounding like rusty fasteners about to break off. And particularly coming out of aluminum, that is bad. So I wouldn't normally like flood spark plug holes with WD-40 or anything like that, but in this case I did, just because we did not want to damage those aluminum threads in the head. The reason I wouldn't spray stuff down in there is because there's 25 years of crap down in that hole too, and there's no legitimately good way to get in there and clean that stuff out before the spark plug comes out. I'm not too much of a safety Nazi about, you know, oh, you got to clean your spark plug holes before you pull them out and all that stuff. You know, you do what you can, but on this motor, you're really not going to do anything. They're too far down in there. It's too tight. You can't wipe them out. Best you could do is spend 10 bucks of brake cleaner and a bunch of rags and try and blow it out of there, and you're going to drip just as much crap in the motor anyway. So I usually try and take them out dry and take my chances that the least amount of stuff is going to fall in by doing it that way. So these 2 holes, whatever's dripping in the cylinder right now is what's going to be in there, and it'll burn off, and I'm sure the car will be fine for it. But anyway, kind of funny stuff. I guess in today's era where the 100,000 mile spark plug change, or for life spark plugs or whatever. This may not actually be that weird to see, but if you bought a new car today, you'd be waiting until about 2040 to get the same equivalent of what we've got going on here. These are for sure the original spark plugs put in at the factory. I, of course, knew that was going to happen. That's the way these cars always go. And when I tell you the story about the car, you'll understand. But another thing we got going on is over here, I've laid out what we're going to need next. Specifically, because this is aluminum cylinder head, some of it. This is dielectric tune-up grease. Just put a little dab of that in the boots, on the plug wire boots, just to help them reassemble and disassemble. This is a set of boot pliers, nothing elaborate. These were, probably $5 at AutoZone or whatever. These are the only cars I've ever had and ever worked on where I actually needed these. The wires are just hard to reach and they're pretty far down. So if you're into something like this, go grab a set of these. It's helpful to you. On these cars, I even use them to reinstall. And then again, because it's an aluminum cylinder head, we are for sure going to anti-seize the spark plugs. For whatever reason, this has been kind of a controversy on the internet. Is the spark plug manufacturers like, oh no, don't do that. You can't get an accurate torque if you seize them. Ours are factory anti-seize. We use a nickel plating, blah 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 blah. Yeah. All right, we're still going to go ahead and put the grease on. The internet war can rage on. Like I said, this is a Bosch Platinum plug. Yeah, I'm sure that's some kind of nice plating they use. I'm sure the original plugs had some sort of plating when they were new too. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and dunk them. And then a somewhat rare sight. Hey, torque wrench. Not just a torque wrench. Many people don't use these. This is a beam wrench. So the way this works is, see if I can zoom in there. This beam stays static because it's not connected to anything. It's just free moving. And it works on the deflection of the big beam. So as this big beam bends, this needle goes and shows you what your torque is. These are notoriously reliable. They are impossible to miscalibrate basically because you can just bend this beam and push it back to zero. Looks like maybe I need to do that. But yeah, beam wrenches are kind of limited application, but they're great for things particularly like this. I'm going to run these into 10 or 12 foot-pounds. Specifically torquing them because it is an aluminum cylinder head. We don't want to overdo it. We don't want to pull threads. That would be very, very bad. And rather than use a clicker wrench where it's, click, I want to actually be able to see what's going on. Because if this starts floating around or doing weird things, we might be pulling the threads right then. We might want to stop and try and thread chase them, something like that. And that's something a click wrench won't do, is it won't show you kind of the live readout of what's up. You can get a much more expensive digital wrench that would. I actually do have one of those in my toolbox, but it's old school. Someday I'll show it to you. But it's kind of a pain to use, so we're just going to go with the old school beam wrench here. Something else that's kind of funny is I showed you my gigantic extensions earlier. And so I got that and went to snatch a ratchet. That just happened to be a 1/2-inch extension I used, so I just went to grab a 1/2-inch ratchet. And at some point, I'd counted on probably doing some kind of a toolbox tour, garage tour, or whatever. But grabbed this Craftsman ratchet here that is like virtually brand new. I mean, this thing has basically no wear on it. And picked it up and went to use it, and I had heard something go tink, tink, tink and fall to the floor a while ago, and that's what it was. The directional pawl just came straight off the thing. This ratchet, I assure you, has been used 10 or 15 times since the last time it was exchanged. Actually do have another Craftsman, another Craftsman 1/2-inch ratchet. Same story. This one I exchanged basically right before the Sears by me went out of business. I took a bunch of Sears tools down and got new ones. So Sears ratchets were, junk when I started buying tools, like back in the mid-90s. They are certainly junk now. As stuff like this breaks, I'm not even going to bother to try and warranty it at Sears. places like Ace Hardware don't want to honor the warranty. They're being super jerks about it. They just wanted to buy the name, which the name is useless now. The tools are so bad. So stuff like this is going to end up going in the trash. I will probably move on to buying a little more upmarket now. Maybe SK, or, you know, probably not Snap-on, but maybe Matco. Stuff where they will actually honor the warranty if it breaks, and hopefully won't just literally fall apart after you removed one spark plug with it. And then, you know, out of the middle of nowhere at that, I don't even think this was in my hand when I heard that fall off and break off. I mean, so anyway. So anyhow, we're making good headway here, good progress. We're going to bang these spark plugs back in it, bang the radiator back into it, and then I think we just need to connect the battery cable and fill it with coolant and see what happens. I guess one other thing quick I will just mention fast that I stole from the Car Wizard. I'm sure you guys, if you're on my channel, you almost certainly have seen Hoovie's Garage and know who the Car Wizard is, but one of his recent videos, he showed that he's using spray silicone to hit stuff like fuel hose connections and electrical connections, I assume the outside of that connection, just to grease them up so they move a little more freely and so they slide together better and they come apart better next time. And I saw that and I thought, hey, that is a good idea, because all of my stuff is ancient and all the plastics always want to break. So I've been doing that here as I've put on, you know, like the ignition coil pack wiring and put the harness back on the alternator. I've just been hitting the outsides of it. I've tried to keep this stuff off of the electrical connectors because I don't really think that's what it's for. The alternator I hit with some dielectric grease. This pretty much never corrodes. So this guy pretty much never corrodes, so we don't worry about him too much. But I did grease up the outside of the connector, and it does make things go back together better. Hopefully they come apart better someday if I ever need them. But anyway, so, you know, the 5-minute test here is, so far I like it. I'll probably keep doing it. I don't know if any one particular brand of silicone is better than the other. I got this on Amazon. They all seem to be pretty expensive. I think this was like a $15 can. It should get like paint. So maybe you can buy some better stuff, cheaper stuff elsewhere. But anyway, that's where we're at, and I think the next time I bring you guys back, we'll be ready to put fluid in it, and I may just shove it out of the shop for that, because that would really make everything way worse if I had to mop up 2 gallons of coolant and stuff in the garage before we could fix whatever happened. So we may just stuff it out in the driveway and fill it up and see how it goes. Anyway, see ya. Alright guys, it's all back together. Got coolant in it. I'm tired. Remember, this is a project I really wasn't even in the mood for, and we've actually done quite a lot of work to the car now. But so it's actually dark outside now, so I can't push it outside. I wouldn't be able to see anything. So I just filled it up in the garage. I'm gonna light it off here in just a minute. Gonna put the garage door up and run it, and you know, wish me luck. Hopefully no leaks, because we don't really have time for it. Put the wheels back on it. It's still up on jack stands and stuff though, so if it sprouts a leak, we don't have to start from ground zero. We'll update you shortly. Well, no explosive leaks all over the place just yet. Looking good so far. It's smoking a little bit from the WD-40 I shot down the head. Sorry it's so loud, so hard to talk. I'm hoping you can hear me. I did tell you the car does need an exhaust. It probably sounds worse on camera than it really is, but yeah, it's a little loud. But right now everything's looking good. I'm going to let it run until the thermostat opens up and check and make sure the radiator fluid circulates and all that stuff, and make sure it's not leaking, and I'll keep you posted. Well, it's probably been running for about 10 minutes or so now. Maybe more like 5. I don't see any leaks. I of course overfilled it because that's what you do. So it is dripping some from the cross member, but everything looks fine. It's coming up to temp. The thermostat open, the upper radiator hose is getting warm. On the dash, it's not even at operating temperature yet. It's pretty cold today. I would have guessed the high of about 40 today, so I guess not so bad. But anyway, I'm going to let it run until the cooling fan kicks on, or until the gauge says that the fan should be on. just to make sure that's going to kick on, because we had that all apart too. So everything's looking good. I'm going to work at getting it dropped back down and get the wheels torqued down and probably go take it for a drive. Fans on. I'm starting to get legit concerned because it's been like 10 minutes and it just shut off. I just caught you just in time. So everything's a-okay. Does feel kind of warm under here, but looks like everything's legit. So I'm gonna finish the car up, take it for a drive, and hopefully that's that. So this is gonna be hilarious. You guys are gonna get really a kind of a sound along, not really a look along with this one, but yeah, the Jeep and the Escort are like Fat Joe and Pun. They're twins. They're exhaust buddies. Yeah, check this out. So the car seems fine. Took it out for a little bit of a drive. Nothing unexpected. Makes good heat. Didn't come up on the temperature gauge or anything. That car has not really moved anywhere since July. So it's just been hanging out in the driveway waiting for me to get to some maintenance work since early July, late July, somewhere in there. You heard at the beginning that car needs steering and brakes and a whole bunch of stuff, exhaust, blah, blah, blah. I'll eventually get to explaining why and why a person would own such a vehicle and so on and so forth. But I think it's going to get me to work tomorrow. We'll see. Another issue with the car is I'm pretty sure the ignition switch is bad. So you'll get in it, turn the key, and literally nothing happens. No fuel pump, nothing. This has happened in one of our other Escorts. I've got a new ignition switch for it. I was going to put in as part of this project, but you know that has not happened. So hilariously, although the Jeep's in the shop and the Jeep's broken, and you've now seen how broken the Jeep is, which is pretty hysterical, really. It is going to go right back out next weekend, and the car is going to come right back in, because if nothing else, it's got to get the front brakes done. They are like kind of scary, especially at highway speed. The rotors are just torched, because not next weekend, but the following weekend, I have to drive that car back to the town my folks live in, so that'll be about a 3-hour round trip, and especially on the highway, the brakes are just screwed. So brakes shouldn't be a big deal. I had planned to leave it in here and do the brakes and the suspension, the steering and everything, like over the next 2 weeks, you know, a couple hours after work and, you know, the weekend. But there's just no way that's actually going to happen. I'm going to be way too roasted from having to bang it out and get the thing out of here and back on the road all this weekend. Like right now, it's like 7 p.m. I've been at this again for like 8 or 9 hours. So you've watched like a 20-hour thermostat and water pump video, you know, a little bit more than that, but yeah. So it is what it is. But the really hilarious thing is, for once I have lived like the dude and had a dude-like outcome, which almost never happens for me. What usually happens is I live like the dude and then pay for it like 10 men that would live like the dude. So what happened is I've been putting off this work for the car for 2 years. The car comes into the shop to get the work done. Night one of getting like half a job done is when this thing blew up. So you can't ask for more than that. The car's outside and running. It'll be fine. We'll get to the rest of it hopefully next weekend. We'll just have to see. And then when I go to my parents' house, some of the exhaust components for the Jeep are there. So we'll have to bring those back. And then we can hopefully get the car dialed in and get it aligned and everything after the suspension and steering work. And then get just waist deep into the Jeep. So thanks for following along with everything. It on my side has truly not been much fun at all. I knew it wouldn't be. The only fun thing about it is, you know, that I feel like I'm sharing it with people, and it feels like more than the activity at hand, which it is. This is a separate entity from actually repairing the car. So this would have been absolute misery with no redeeming value whatsoever, except now I have a car to drive, if not for anybody who happens to stumble upon this and watch it. So I want to thank you for that. If nobody watches it, hey, you know, I guess we tried. It was fun. is the way it goes. But yeah, hopefully everything continues to work out with the car. The big test will be coming out for work in the morning and seeing if there's a giant puddle of coolant under it. And yeah, who knows? Probably not. Everything seemed fine, but we'll see. So thanks again for watching. Check me out later. Hopefully we'll have something else going on. Oh, I almost forgot. It is still making what I'm going to refer to from now on as the naughty noise. It's probably hard for you to hear over the exhaust on the car, but it's kind of to me it almost sounds like a train. It's like a chuggy 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 chuggy, but it's a little more high pitched. The car does have one more idler that we haven't replaced, and the sound sounded like it was in that area. So I may get another idler and check on it and see what happens. But if it's actually valve train noise, like it sort of sounds like it could be, I'm going to do 100% of nothing about it. Not until it wipes off a cam lobe or something like that, because then we will just replace the entire head. Those cars are known for dropping valve seats. I mentioned that before. There's an aftermarket head where they install the seats in a better way, so that's less likely to happen. You can get a new head with a new cam or reconditioned cam and lifters and all that crap for like $250. So if it truly is valve train noise, we are gonna dude it on out and see how that goes. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Bye.